Where are we at? That seems to be the big question. Where are we at as a society, as a country, as a world? Where are we at? I have a lot of feelings and thoughts, and trying to put them into an organized place of where everything is in boxes is often hard. Things seem to be, instead of all the boxes in your brain, everything's unpacked and kind of in a mess, but yet still organized. Kind of like when your closet gets out of order, and you're shuffling through life and you're coming and going, and you're kicking off shoes and just kind of kicking them in the closet instead of putting them in the place where they need to be, and you're changing your clothes and you're taking things off from hangers or shelves, and you're just deciding not to want to wear those things so you could just kind of throw it back in, and before you know it, everything's off the hangers and on the floor and on top of all the shoes, and you can't find a right and a left shoe. You got two rights and two lefts. And yesterday morning I woke up and I was kind of excited because something with my dark past had come to light once again, using my negatives for a positive. And I called my husband and I was really excited, and I was like, just hear me out. And because he knows a lot of my past and what my girls and I went through. And I got on the controlling, manipulative, sociopath, narcissist, deviant. And I got thinking about my situation, not just me, okay? And then the vampire, all right? So there's the vampire, and then you got a light. Well, narcissist has these flying monkeys, all right? Now, narcissist, they have a cup, and it's never full. And they can't fill it themselves, so they use others to fill their cup. So, they drain and drain and drain and drain other human beings to fulfill themselves. Narcissists see their own reflection in a pool of water and falls in love with themselves. Not even themselves, just with the reflection. Because their reality isn't like others. They talk about themselves and they fantasize about success and power and brilliance, and they want to be perfect in their imaginings of themselves and how they feel they should be. So what they do is they take things from others that they like, that they're attracted to, and they take it for themselves. But in reality, it's not real. But they don't feel that way. In reality, they're weak. They're cowards. They're inner emptiness. But they feel at the same time, they do feel special and in control, and avoid feelings to achieve this defectiveness of insignificance. Immense frustration comes in with anger when visions are not quite what they want. Their reality is different. They believe they're superior. In order to maintain those feelings of superiority, they'll resort to belittling or breaking one's will. Sound familiar? That's a lot like what they are doing to people. They force others they focus on other people's flaws, to hide their own shortcomings, to preserve their self-image. They require constant praise. Narcissists may seem to portray themselves that they are incredibly outgoing, but they're actually really insecure. They have low self-esteem. They want constant praise and admiration. They're highly reactive to criticism. And they don't take well to the spotlight being on anyone else because of their deep insecurities and their flaws. If anyone puts light to any of those things that the narcissist feels, they get enraged. They actually start to act like a toddler having a fit, not getting what they want. They have a sense of entitlement, looking to others, offering special favors, and to get their requests fulfilled. But again, like that cup that's empty, they can't keep it filled. So they just keep sucking and sucking and sucking until, well, there's not much left to suck. Narcissists will always have their flying monkeys. They don't work alone. Their demands are never met. And if they're not met immediately, they do throw that fit as if they're a toddler, not getting their own way. The relationships are usually short-lived unless they keep their life support, fulfilled in ways just to keep sucking what's given to them. They're actually envious of others because of their low self-esteem and the things that they lack, like empathy. They exaggerate their accomplishments, They're usually pretty charming. They'll seem like they're there to help. They gaslight. They have this, unrealistic reality of themselves and others. They have difficulty regulating their own emotions, so they steal them from others. They often resort to name calling or just making things up or mirroring things. I remember hearing, the things that were done physically are over, but the verbal abuse is still heard long after it's gone. You take a person who is really, really evil, who has very low self-esteem and an image of themselves that realistically they can't fulfill, so they take it from others. They gaslight the person or people, and they start taking on things that are good in other people as their own. for what they lack. And it's pure evil. And they start making the person or people question their own reality, and they start thinking like, wow, what's wrong with me? Maybe this person's right. Or, they start making, the narcissist will start making others feel inadequate or guilty. And they do it subtly. Like, they don't do it all of a sudden. This is a process that they take one through to get them where they want them, so that way they can plug them in, I guess, and start sucking them dry of everything that is good in them. Usually the people that they use are usually people who are strong, believe it or not. People who have really good confidence and are very strong-willed and very loving. People who have incredible empathy for others. Well, these people they lack that, so they suck it out of others, and that's why I refer to them as a vampire. Okay, with their cup sitting there, with their malicious smile. They're empty, and they keep sucking other people because they can't keep what they don't have. So when you take something from somebody and you use it, after you use it, it's gone. You can't replace it. They don't have the ability to replace what they get from others because they lack it themselves. They lack emotion, like a sociopath. But when you rise above, okay, even if you're just broken down, wings cut, on the floor in a deep dark hole, and all you have left in your hand is this little barely glowing ember of light. And as you are on your knees, broken, as broken can be, your broken's broken. Wings cut, and you're just got your head so far into your hands where you can barely see this little ember of light that you have left. You remember that there is a higher power. And if you go to that higher power, which is God, He takes that little ember that you have in your hand that you can barely hold, and He starts to make it glow again. And even though you're in a hole, broken, and all you can see around you is darkness, but you just hold this tiny little light. And as you watch it getting brighter, as you're praying to God, you just know there is a God. And you start regaining your hope and your faith back, and a little piece of what's left of yourself. Because y'all, once you lose yourself, you've lost everything. And you watch this little light, and you watch it grow and get brighter until you finally, hopefully, can gain some strength to at least sit up, and then hopefully stand up, no matter how weak you're feeling. And you put a fake smile on your face, even if it's a little fake, hoping that any positive, good feelings of happiness and joy can come back. Kind of like faking it till you make it. You know, when you break someone's will, like you take a wild horse, okay? How they run free with their herd, and you take one horse and you take it away from their family, and you put it behind a walls like a fence, and you start making it so it can't run as far as it used to, and you're feeding it and giving it water when you have the time or when you feel like you need to, and the horse isn't able to drink or eat when it needs to or wants to by its own free will, and it can't run anywhere outside those walls. And you go into the corral with a horse and you hurt it or start holding it with a rope. Little by little you start breaking that horse down. That's why they call it breaking a horse. Until one day the horse just gives up, because it knows that in order to get what it needs, it must act and behave and do what the controller wants. They don't want to. But living things like people and horses and other animals, because we're all animals, okay? We have one thing in common, and that is a divine will to survive. Your animal instincts will take over. They will. A person's will to survive at that point becomes very animal. And all you do every day is survive. Just hoping to get through one more day. I got thinking about the anxiety and the stress and the PTSD and all the flashbacks, and yeah, I could go into, yep, I got through that, I'm a survivor, but you know what, I can't, because I'm no longer surviving, I'm living. I am a warrior. I am a warrior of God. I am His child. My children are His children. You can't stay in the past, but you can take from your past all the negatives and turn them into positives. And you can stand up no matter how hard it is every day, no matter how perfect and happy your life is. It can still keep taking that hook from a bungee cord, putting it on your belt loop or your back, and it can just keep pulling you back. But until you cut it and take out the hook, you're not living. And this is a process. It's a personal process. As long as you keep fighting over and over and over every single day, you can do it. And then one day you're no longer surviving anymore. You're living. And you become a warrior. When you finally stand up to a narcissist, controlling, manipulative person or society, they get very small. They feel very small. And when you shine the light on them, they are exposed. They will freak out. It'll get dangerous. But I'll tell you, their true colors will come out. And when I say color, they don't have any. It's just black. All you see is a shadow. and it starts to unveil their disgustingness. You almost feel sorry for them, but then you remember what they have done. And until we take our power back, they're going to keep doing what they do. They are a vampire, and they are after us. They will keep draining you until you have nothing left. Breaking your will. That's what they're doing. When I talk about this, the things that I went through, my PTSD has been told to me, and it took me 3 years more to even admit to myself as they were trying to tell me, Heather, your situation was no different than another of a person, a prisoner of war. And I thought to myself, no, that's not true. Because I'm not in the military, I'm not a prisoner of war. And one person asked me, well, how do you feel it's any different? And after talking to me for a while, like I said, years, I finally agreed with her because I didn't want her to be right. Now, when you're beaten down physically, mentally, it's hard. The physical, honestly, I would rather have them sometimes than the verbal abuse. But if you only knew the physical abuse that I went through, all I can say is that everything that goes on in the world today was all the physical abuse that I went through, and the verbal abuse, and the spiritual abuse. If you take all of that's why I turn this to this, because everything I see, the most disgusting abuse that you can think of, I've been through. Mentally, physically, sexually, and I was broken. So that's how I can compare myself to the people in the world today, where they are breaking us down, because I've spent 13 years with just that person. Now, before that, I also went through something, and before that, I went through something else, and I'm not going to get into that today, and I may never get into that. But the thing of it is that I overcame most of it. It doesn't mean that I don't still struggle, okay? But I also later found out, because I was going through so much, I didn't realize anything else really that was going on around me. And when you find out what's happening to others that you love, and I won't mention, that's when the mother in me rose. I took God's hand and I stood up and I said, let's do this. I asked for help. No one would help me because they were afraid of what they wouldn't get from my abuser anymore. They also were all sucked in. So when I talk about the narcissist and his flying monkeys, that's what I mean. That he has them people too. And they help the narcissist tell others that, you're crazy, you're the one who's nuts, and they're the one who is right. Sound familiar? What is wrong is said to be right, and what is right is said to be wrong. I lived that. I still struggle with that because I don't understand how people can think and know something is so purely evil and think it's okay. Or they just are in denial and ignore it for their own self-gain. And it hurts. So I've been in a place since yesterday where I've been trying to give peace to others, and it's working. And I want you all to still have that peace. Get outside and watch the wind rustle through the leaves as I'm watching right now out the window of our living room. And y'all, I did have help. I had a therapist. My mom was gone. I won't get into that, but this got so bad with my abuser that everyone in my life that cared about me and who could help me, he made them in a way go away. I didn't have anyone but God. But that was my everything at that point. And I fought hard to rise up because I needed to stand on my own 2 feet to get my children and myself out of there. So one day my oldest daughter came and said, "Mom, we're going to get you out." And I had called the police station, and I had already been working with domestic violence and my therapist and even CPS. And they all knew I was fixing to get out. I made the call. They knew there was police around the corner just in case he came home. I left with another to go get a U-Haul. And we packed just what was mine and just what was my kids', not anything we had together. We packed a whole U-Haul in a morning and in an afternoon, and I left, and I sat that U-Haul at my oldest daughter's house for a whole weekend. Until finally the place that I had rented, I was waiting on the rest of the money, and I gave it to the person I was going to be renting from, and he let my girls and I move in early over the weekend. I left June 28th of 2013. A special man from Ohio came here and was helping me with things and getting things order in return of wanting nothing else. But just out of pure love, he came here and kept coming to help me get out with my girls. Just because he cared. A year later, I married that man. You might know him as Bigfoot Prepper. And I'm forever grateful, and I love him very, very much. Yeah, he started out as a friend, but it turned into something more beautiful, and it felt like I knew him for 1,000 years. Which is how I feel with most of y'all. Is like, there's this Holy Spirit that God rains down on us all. And it connects us all, and we're family. And we do, even though we have stories to tell each other, and we're still getting to know one another. But at the same time, it does feel just like it did with Bigfoot and I, my husband, with all of you. Like we've all known each other for 1,000 years. And you know, if you think about it, our souls with God have all been connected for a reason. And it just, that's the way it feels to me. And I'm grateful and I love you all. So when we struggle and certain people have certain understandings or certain people see certain things, we gather others together to shed light on things to help another person. That is why, because some of us have been through some shit. Put on your shit kickers, people, because we're going to be going through some shit. And the shit's going to get deep. But we're not just one. We are many, and we can do this. So let's rise above this freaking evil and let's get this squashed. Because we can do it. You can do it. Take it from me. I was only one person alone standing up against this vampire and all of his narcissistic flying monkeys. But I can tell you it can be done. And it needs to be done, because if you do not, you'll be on your knees with your wings broken, just hoping you have a little tiny ember to pray upon, to ask God to give you some more strength and get that thing glowing again.